So, thank you, John. And now I'd like to take a minute to have a brief introduction of our speaker spark today. And I don't know if anybody here knows Peter Moses, but Peter Moses is our speaker today. And he says that he's very grateful to have been a part of the Circle family for many moons, many moons. And Peter is a father of 6, a singer-songwriter, and an educator. Peter directs the Mindful Experience, and he loves enriching the lives of children. He loves enriching the lives of children and adults. Let's hope that we've all come into our adulthood at this time. And he loves to enrich us with mindfulness education. And just as it is with you, the universe enjoys being this Peter guy. This is what he wrote, and I just loved it. So our topic today is your truly wonderful spiritual freedom. Spiritual freedom, spiritual freedom. We have tasted it, he says. We have tasted it. And he asks the question, what is the nature of this beautiful freedom we have? Freedom from what? In our circle time together, he says, we will explore and know from what we feel liberated. So this is something he's going to offer us today. And he says that we will share what it feels like for you and for me. And the universe, is here with us, and we will understand what it is to live it always. So let's give a warm welcome.
I'm not going to get mic'd up. I'm going to stand right where you stand.
Oh, okay.
Because
we don't mic anybody else.
Yeah. So this is part of my spiritual freedom this morning. I have a new friend, Joseph, over here, and he's the youngest of us, but we all have that kid inside us. And I want to speak about energy first. So I'm going to move the energy out here and here with a song that's an oldie, but it still works for kids. So here we go, and you can feel free to dance or clap. Treetops all day long, hopping in the fog and singing a song. All the birds on Cambridge Street, love to hear the robin go. Tweedledee, hey, rock robin, really gonna rock tonight. Well, the raven, bird, singing, told them to the robin, it was grand. Started going steady, bless my soul, yeah, Bobby Buster in the overflow, rock. All day long, hopping in the fog and singing. Yeah, the birds on Cambridge Street, love to hear the robin go tweet, 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 rock, rock, tweet, tweedledee, oh, rock, rock, tonight. Whoa, rock and roll, hey, rock and robin. Everybody take your microphone, say, tonight. So my pal Albert Einstein, I wish I could have met him, but I feel like he pointed out that energy is not created and never destroyed. It just changes forms. And when you're not a physicist, you might think that that's kind of confusing or what to think about that. From a spiritual perspective, it helps me to actually feel the truth of that for myself. Pretty much everything that's what I'm attracted to. And you can feel the energy of what just changed in here and out here with that song. It's not mystical. You can feel it. And that energy that's within us moves and radiates, as Susan was saying, beyond us, outside us, and within us, and we can know it directly. And we can feel it in meditation. We can feel it right now, just talking with one another. And it is formless, timeless, very powerful, infinite, can be shared through Reiki across the globe, can be shared from our hands. It is our nature. It's my favorite quote is, what is essential is invisible to the eye. It is only with the heart that one can see or feel rightly. It's from the Petit Prince, the Little Prince. And so we are that which was not created. Ultimately, what we are, to me, was never created and will never be destroyed, but will only transform, will only change forms. And every time I look in the mirror, there's a different Peter Moses. I mean, it's amazing. We all get to take the trip, and we all get to be all those little selves. So that's not mystical either. How many of them have there been? Well, I can't count. How many changes to my personality? How many changes to my life circumstances, to my relationships, to this body? So when you look straight at it, it's very clear that what the I is beyond any of that, because it's the same. Looking through Joseph's eyes over here, as it will be when Joseph is maybe standing here and is my age, it never changes. My friend and teacher, Shantanan, see if I can channel his voice, he would say, what is real? No, he'd say, I really want to know, what is real? And then he would wait, and we'd all think, okay, what kind of answer can I come up with my mind? And of course, it's very difficult to encompass what's real with your mind. But I'm asking you now, okay, so what is real? He'd say, then he would help us out, and he'd come in, and he'd say, what is real is what is timeless, changeless, eternal. And we go, because we couldn't, with this limited mind, really encompass, but he would come up with words that we could actually drink in. Changeless, eternal, timeless. But then we'd start to think about it and we would get a headache. Because if you come from a worldly view, what's changeless? Nothing. Everything's changeless. Everything that I just described for myself or in our lives, it's all constant change. But you can feel directly that energy, that awareness that is our birthright, which isn't mystical either, because as babies, we were all pure consciousness, just open, pure awareness, without any judgments, without any labels, without any problem, living as babies and infants, the oneness that is. So everything else was learned, everything else was conditioned. But every baby on the planet, no matter what they look like and act like now, came into the world already with that pure consciousness. And that is changeless. But from the outside, takes all kinds of disguises. So freedom, let's get into it. Freedom, I thought to myself, freedom from what? Now, to my understanding, there are two dimensions to this life for all of us as human beings. There's human, and then there's being. There's the relative dimension of the world, of duality, of constant change, of appearing as individual entities. And then there is the dimension that is the same in all of us, the oneness, the presence, the awareness that was looking out of our eyes, all of us, and still is, just covered over by lots of things, lots of thought, lots of beliefs, lots of conditioning. So freedom from what? From in the worldly dimension, freedom from hunger, freedom from worry, from fear, from pain. Any of these things, emotional pain, physical pain, any of these things are, from a worldly perspective, what we desire to be free of. But one of the beauties is that all of what I just described comes and goes and comes and goes like New England weather every day and every hour. My wife is the youngest of 6 sisters, and she once expressed to at least one of them that she is always a little worried and a little fearful that she will have to transist through their passing because they're all older. And she sighed. And then the sister that's just above her said, well, look on the bright side, you could die first. Which was so wise. And Jackie laughed. And, you know, it's because it's all relative, all the things that we wish to be free of on the worldly level, we get the freedom, we lose it, we get it, we lose it. And it's okay to wish for it all, but it's all so transitory, ephemeral, whatever the words are. But you can only really appreciate how transitory it is if there's a connection with that deeper presence, that deeper changeless that we cannot achieve, but we are. We are it. So from the transcendent dimension that we are, what we would want in terms of freedom is freedom from constant compulsive thought, freedom from birth and death. And I'll see if something comes more about that. Freedom from the big stuff. Help me. From the future and the past?
From the future and the past.
Yes. So absolutely. And you will notice that everything I say is all interconnected with everything I say. And it's all just coming through. In fact, Ken, who invites me here, has said many times that pretty much every time I'm here, everything I say is the same. And that has to be true, but we'll have a different flavor based on you and you, because you are bringing this out through me. I don't know what I'm going to say next. It's really based on actually the energy in the room. So this freedom from the future and the past, for instance, sounds impossible, but is simply being, as Susan put it this morning, the presence that we are. In 2001, when I first read Eckhart Tolle and I read The Power of Now, it was the biggest explosion in my consciousness that I had ever experienced. It was like an oasis in a vast desert. To recognize that what I suffered from most of all was being trapped in my own compulsive thinking. Compulsive meaning no choice. Compulsive meaning no awareness. But I didn't suffer much in this life, but whenever I did, it was in that, my own trying to reach into the future to become more whole, trying to look into the past and think, oh, the good old days, the things that I had that I no longer have. And this is a universal experience for human beings. But every time we sit with a good friend, and thank you for the friendship, and thank you for Ralph Waldo. But every time we sit with a good friend, where is any of that past and future? Where is it right now? We are all absolutely here. And it's now. And when I'm teaching mindfulness with the kids, I'll say, let's make sure that it's always now. And they'll go, what? And I'll go, that's okay, just wait. Is it now? And they go, yeah. Okay. Still now? They go, yeah. And you and I can get that same inspiration to recognize that the truth that no philosopher, no physicist, the wisest people who have ever lived could possibly argue with. And that is, wherever we are, we're here. And no matter what time the clock or the sundial or whatever says, it's now. And in that here and now, just one of the beautiful gateways, in that here and now is the ultimate peace. Because there is nothing but the flow of life. There is nothing but an awareness of our surroundings without judgment. There is nothing but awareness of our feelings and our thoughts. But we are, in that presence, it's easy to recognize that we are what sees what's all around us. We are what sees these thoughts come and go. We are what feels our feelings deeply and then watches them go, whether we want to hold on to them or not. We are what sees everything that's transitory from the place that never changes, from the time that never changes, here and now. What is real? Presence. This moment is not a moment. This moment is the eternal. Can't argue with it. This moment is the changeless, timeless, always this moment. And thank goodness, because freedom is easy when our awareness, when our sense of presence is right here and now. So it could be a good friend. It could be, I heard a spiritual teacher named Adyashanti once say, it's in the tiramisu after your Italian dinner. Okay, so when you're in the spoonful, Dara's mom, one of my favorite human beings. The last time I was with her, when she was embodied, she was eating ice cream because the nurses said, it's your birthday, just would you like the ice cream? I'm sorry to bring this up, but it's so beautiful. She was eating the ice cream. She could hardly breathe. And she looked like a little kid just on a summer day, as present with that ice cream as a Zen master. No higher evolved being was sitting in front of us eating that ice cream. And then she turned and she said, it's just that I love this life so much. I need a moment. I find that what brings tears to my eyes is beauty. Beauty beyond what I can, with this human frame, contain. That's what does it. Add music to it, and I'm just a puddle. You know, Dara's dad, also one of my favorite people. And there are people here who knew him just as well. In his last days, he was a shining light from within a body that could no longer communicate. But since his ego was never actually always in control in his lifetime, it was just coming through. There was nothing holding it back. He was a transparent, dissolving shell that contained that light. And the light was just, and I would come to visit him at Abington Hospital, and I would just sit in awe and in gratitude. No greater teaching. I would not have imagined that my last moments with my mom-in-law, dad-in-law, whatever, would have been so transcendent, so beautiful, so wonderful. Because I would have only had thoughts. And those thoughts, just like all of our thoughts, are half the time bogus. They're a half-truth, maybe. But rarely do things, and this is not mystical, rarely do things actually evolve the way we think they're going to. This service is not evolving the way I thought it was going to. So what? It's always now. And because it's always now, it is complete freedom, because it's like, let me speak to Doug, it's like an artist's palette before any brush stroke goes on it, right? It is free. It is infinite potential. And since every moment is brand new, and there's only this moment, every moment has infinite potential. No thought could ever come close to comprehending. But the perk of the ultimate freedom Jesus spoke about, he said, you know, all the relative freedoms that we'd like, and people were complaining they don't have any of these relative freedoms. They have financial trouble, they have in-law trouble, they have relationship problems, they have, you know, help me, great teacher. And he'd say, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all this shall be added unto you. And my buddy Eckhart Tolle, what he puts it is, as we are present and in the wholeness of what we are, those things that we think we need tend to come to us easier, because we're not standing in our own way anymore. And you've seen this happen. All of us have lived this. And when we live these high moments, the thinking mind, the best it can do is to say, wow, or what the hell was that? Or, my gosh, I want more of that. Was it, and my cousin would say, the mountain bike. When I'm on the mountain bike, I understand. I read The Power of Now. I was telling him about it. He said, yeah, Peter, I get it. I could have I've had relationship troubles, and I've had financial troubles. When I'm on that mountain bike, I noticed that They simply aren't real. They're not there. Wow, sure, I'm grateful for that bike. I'd say, no, Paul, Tommy, brother Paul. I'd say, Tommy, it's so cool. You recognize that? But know that the bike is the opportunity to know what you are behind all the things that you thought were permanent, were not easy to change or whatever. That freedom that he felt from all that, we are that. It's not a peak experience. We are it. But also, like Jesus said, that peace and that freedom is beyond, it surpasses the peace that surpasses all understanding. He didn't get it either. And he was expressing this amazing awesomeness that we are, this peace that is unshakable by any worldly event that we have known, even if just in glimpses, is not able to be comprehended cognitively. Because you talk about the present moment, my mind can never get it, because my mind is based on thoughts, and the thoughts are based on what just happened or what happened years ago, what I may regret, what I may want back, the future. It never comes. How real is the future? It's a word, I'll say it, future. Okay, so you heard a sound, there are letters, there's a concept. But if it's Monday and we're sitting here together and someone else is here, it's going to be now. I mean, someone would say, wait a minute, what time is it now? Anyway, even Yogi Berra, who was a ball player for the Yankees or the Mets, I can't remember what New York team, way back. He was like a Zen master of his own. And they'd say to him, Yogi, what time is it? He'd go, you mean now? That was just one of many bits of wisdom that would come out of this old ball player. It's always now. So I always want to disclaim, I'm not dissing our thinking minds, but recognize that either we use them, either we are the one they're using them, these minds, or they will abuse us. Because it would be like the bus driving itself. It needs a driver. So thoughts are awesome, very powerful, but the most creative thoughts, I could ask directly. Maybe we'll wait and then you can comment on this. But for most of us, and I imagine for Doug as well as an artist, has any kind of creativity happen in the shower, happen in moments where thought is not required, happen when we have come to our senses and there's just the water flowing and the smell of the shampoo or the sound. We are fully like a yogini. We are fully in our bodies, where we are the presence. We are grounded in being. The thinking mind can say the word being, can maybe define it or judge it, but has no clue. But we need it to be human beings. We need it to be human. We don't need it to be. And perhaps that's one of the ultimate freedoms, just to be. If I do stress management or mindfulness for adults and there's 200 people, I would say, how many of you could sit in your living room for 10, 15 minutes and do absolutely nothing? And you probably would not be surprised, but many people are surprised to hear that half the people go there in their mind and have a fearful expression on their face. And then I'll ask for anyone to comment on what it is that's frightening them. I know what the answers are going to be. I would feel I don't deserve that, or I would feel guilty. You don't know what my to-do list looks like, Peter. They'd say, in other words, the spirit of capitalism would be whacking me around. So it's sad and comical at the same time that people in our society can't give themselves the gift of some silence and some space and some peace. Some of them have said, yeah, you know what, though, I tried meditation and the meditation scared the hell out of me because I was, for the first time, really alone with my thoughts, and it was loud. And I said, how beautiful that you could see that and how hard that would be. But give it a try, even 3 minutes, and work your way up. But with the 3 minutes, just try and you will move through, from my experience, a threshold. Some people said, no, I tried it, it's boring. Whether it's the noise or the boredom, give it a chance. No, 20 minutes. Don't forget that. 3 minutes. See what that's like. And then you will move through the threshold of boredom. You will move through the threshold of noise. And what you will move into, I have no words for it and I don't need to describe, but you have to live it directly. And it's so wonderful. I feel so blessed to have those opportunities with people I don't know, but who I just feel they're like with me. So I feel like I want to comment just on events for just a moment in the world right now and how this might apply. And then I would like to open up. So we have all experienced dysfunction as humans. I don't know anybody who hasn't. We've experienced dysfunction. We've experienced confusion. We've experienced fear, which sometimes looks like anger, but it all comes from fear. We've experienced that, and human beings can get lost in that, especially if all they know is this personal, this person. If all they know is this body and this mind and this personality, which has no stability because it's all those three are constantly changing. If they're not rooted in any way with any presence, all we can feel is compassion, because then when they're angry, that's their identity. When they're in pain, the victim, whatever it is, that's their identity. When they have this view of the world, religious, political, whatever, to leave it would be like dying, would be a death to them, would be like having a part of them just ripped out. So find some way, even denial or whatever, to just stay the course with all that fear and all that. So if an individual can be in that space, even temporarily, then a family can be, and a community can be, and a nation can be, or half a nation. And the collective unconsciousness has even more noise than an individual unconsciousness. And what can we do? It starts with being present with whoever it is and whatever it is right in front of us. This is not my wisdom. This comes from the inspiration for me from Mother Teresa, who was asked, how do you survive as a human being in the depths of Calcutta, India, serving the way you do with all of the poverty and the suffering. And she said, without any moment of thought or whatever, she said, one soul at a time. One thing at a time, one person at a time. One expression of love at a time, one service at a time, one at a time. Like the Zen master who, whatever he's doing, it looks like when he's doing it, that is all that he does in his life. He's so present with it. Because when we are present, as Susan pointed out, we have the ability to listen, which is otherwise hard because we're thinking about how am I going to respond and how do I feel about that and whatever, instead of just taking it in and being there. And as you know, again, not mystical, as you know, as I know, when someone is there for you and is just listening, they don't have to do much more than that for you to feel loved. It's one of the ultimate gifts, and I'm ready now. I'm getting the wink. So let's open up. Let's open up.